All right, if y'all want to grab a seat, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank y'all to the amazing and concerned citizens of Johns Island. Before we get started, I'm going to let Dave Jenkins give an invocation here.
Thank you, Thomas. First of all, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming to Wesley. We're honored to have these concerned citizens here. They've been meeting here every month for how long?
10 years?
10 years now, so we're real happy to have everyone here. And we'd like to say a prayer now if you join in with me. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for allowing us to be here. We thank you for all these candidates running for county offices and state offices that will want to represent the people of this island, that they can serve and do the will of the people on this island as best they know how. We just thank everyone for attending, those that are interested and concerned, for coming out and taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. And we pray that this meeting goes well, that even though we may have differences of opinion, we still stand as Johns Island United. I pray this in your holy name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Abe. I'd like to ask everybody to keep Bill Saunders, 12 years ago, I guess it was, Bill and I formed this organization, and Bill has been a wonderful leader here on Johns Island. Bill had a little fall last week and spent a couple nights in the hospital. I talked to him Saturday, and he told me he was going to be here, but I think his wife vetoed that idea and didn't let him come. But y'all keep Bill in your prayers and thoughts, and if anybody wants to get his address after the meeting, see Abe or I, and we'll give you his address. We're going to drop him. Get well card in the mail to him. We're going to do a little candidates forum. We have several candidates that are running for countywide, and a couple are running for U.S. District, 1st District Congressional seat. We're going to start with Dimitri Cherney, who's running for the 1st Congressional seat for Congress. And let Dimitri introduce himself and tell us about his platform.
Hello. I know many of you. This is my 3rd time running for Congress to replace Mark Sanford. You may have seen me in 2016. I spent a little time here on Johns Island riding across the island with my little bicycle, towing my boat behind me, and actually spent a night at the Fields Farm, Joseph Fields Farm. In the morning I was unpleasantly surprised that Joseph put me to work in the field, holding up tomato stakes with a guy from Guatemala and a woman from Mexico. And it was actually a lot less work than towing that bike around, so I was kind of glad to do it. But I'm running again, 3rd time to remove Mark Sanford. What I discovered in 2016, as I was doing my biking the low country rather than hiking the Appalachian Trail, I came up with the question, what 1 or 2 things could Washington do to make your life better? And one of the first people I met on my road trip was Randall Juarez. Where is Randall? It was actually the first day out. I was paddling up the river and stopped to make some repairs. We ran into Randall and had a good conversation. And when I asked people this question, what can Washington do to make your life better? I was surprised to hear the same roughly 4 things from almost everybody. And it didn't matter whether it was Randall, and we know what his politics are, or whether it was somebody way on the left side of the spectrum. Everybody came back and said, I haven't had health care for a long time. I would love to have health care, or affordable health care, or I'm concerned that with the health care that I have, I'm still going to end up paying too much if I end up getting cancer and I'm going to go bankrupt. Number 2 was education. A lot of people in South Carolina feel like their education got cheated, or they were cheated out of their education. And then an awful lot of young people have huge college debts right now, and they have problems with that. So everybody wants some sort of better education program. Number 3 was Social Security. And it looks like most of the people in this room are like me, above the age of 50, and we're concerned about Social Security. We know that the payments that we have aren't going to cover our living expenses. And for an awful lot of people, and especially the younger generations now, living paycheck to paycheck your whole life, you don't get to save a whole lot away. 401ks, IRAs aren't going to be enough to do it all, and we're going to have to rely more on Social Security. And then number 4 was veterans and soldier support. Awful lot of veterans, 90,000 veterans here in our district, and everybody knows a veteran and everybody thinks we need to get veterans better support. So those are the big 4 things that I discovered in 2016. And I'd say to everybody, we can't do anything about any 4 of those things until we get big money out of politics. And that was what my platform was in 2016. This year I've added 2 other things to it because they both become much more timely. And that is rising seas and climate change. And we know well here, the whole 1st Congressional District is an average of about 6 feet above sea level. This is going to be one of the first districts that will be gone. It may be 50 years, it may be 100 years, but this district will be underwater twice a day in a few decades. And then the other one was income and wealth inequality. And I've done some studying over the last couple of years and found that every other civilization before ours has failed when we get to this point where there's a tiny elite that has all the dollars, and there's a huge group of commoners that has hardly anything. And usually some revolution happens, some war. I want to keep that from happening. I want to make sure that we can make a wealth and income equity better than we have it right now for the next generations. All the plans I'm talking about are relatively long-term. I'm not talking about the short-term stuff that's really influencing people today. But I think that's the role of the federal government in particular. And the problem we've had in Washington over the last 50 years is that most of our elected representatives are thinking very short term about making their campaign contributors wealthier and wealthier. And that's the problem with money in politics, money in Washington. So that's the one thing that we really need to fix right away. That's why I'm going to Washington, to focus on how we can best spend federal dollars to ensure the long-term prosperity and advancement of our society, of America, and make sure it's going to last into the future. So I'd be happy to get your vote. I'm running this year in the Republican primary, and so if you're used to voting Republican, I'm giving you a huge choice over the 2, Katie Arrington or Mark Sanford. If you're used to voting in the Democratic primary, I wish you'd vote in the Republican primary this year. Vote for Cherney for Congress, and all I need is 30,000 people to vote for me. In 2016, I had 119,000 people vote for me, more than has ever voted for anybody before. And I'm asking for just 30,000 people to come out to the Republican primary this year, 21 days from tomorrow, 3 weeks from tomorrow, Tuesday, June 12th. Vote Cherney for Congress. Thank you.
Patrick Bell, we'll go ahead and go to you next. I think Patrick's the only one that's here running for Register of Deeds, which used to be the RMC office. Is anybody else here running for that?
What's RMC?
We're going to let Mr. Bell.
Well, the RMC was called RMC for about 100 and some years, basically so nobody would know what the job was and nobody would run for it. That basically is the truth. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Patrick Bell. I'm running in the Democratic primary for Register of Deeds. RMC, by the way, is Register of Means Conveyance, which is a foreign way of saying Register of Deeds. The name was changed about 25 years ago. But if the incumbent was in office and didn't want to change it, he didn't have to. And so the previous RMC retired and the name therefore changed. And the lovely lady that took over the office to fill out the rest of his term decided not to run. So it's an open seat. And I've got a Democratic challenger, so June the 12th, vote in the Democratic primary. And there's 2 running in the Republican primary as well. But Thomas knows me quite well. He shows up at many of the county planning commission meetings. I've served on the planning commission, I've lost count, 5 or 6 years now. I'm chair of the short-term rental committee. I'm on the affordable housing committee. I'm last year's chair of the local Realtors Legislative Committee. I'm the current chair of the South Carolina Realtors Affordable Housing Task Force, and I'm on the Charleston Chambers Affordable Housing Task Force. So the reason I go through that quick resume is just to let you know I've been involved in local and state real estate matters for most of my career, and that's over 20 years now. And basically, I've just seen the Charleston County Register of Deeds office just not keep up with changes in the real estate world. That does not mean we do not have a good staff in the Register of Deeds office. We do. We just haven't had the leadership that we need. And I intend to provide that leadership to run that office effectively and to improve the office. I know most people do not care about the Register of Deeds office, and I'm not going to try to make you care. It's one of those things that you don't care about until you need it. And when you need it, whether it's to buy a piece of property, to sell a piece of property, to settle an estate, to clear a lien, to file a lien, to file a mortgage, when you need it, you need it. And you need it to be run properly. When you don't need it, you don't want to worry about it. So you need the right person in that office. I could talk for 30 minutes, and I'm not going to. I don't want to do that to you. But go to patrickbell.com. You can learn all you need to learn about the Register of Deeds office and me. I will be here after this is over to answer any questions, and I appreciate y'all's time. And remember to vote in the Democrat primary. Now, if you're going to vote in the Republican primary, that's fine. But I guarantee you've got Democratic friends. Tell them to ask them to vote in the Democratic primary for Patrick Bell. Thank you very much.
Well, we're not going to ask questions through the crowd for these two races, or Carol, who's running for, we're going to save those for our county council candidates. Carol O'Neill is running for House District 116. He has a challenger. I couldn't locate the challenger, couldn't find a website or anything to get information to invite him. I've tried my best to find out, how to get in touch with him. House District 116 covers most of Johns Island, all the Hollywood, Ravenel area, south of Charleston County, a little bit of Johns Island in House District 119, which is Leon Stavronakis, and I don't think anybody's running against Leon this year, are they? No. And so Carol is running in the Republican primary for House District 116. We're going to let Carol give a brief introduction of himself, and then we'll get to the county council races where we'll ask questions.
Thank you, Thomas. Most of you know me, some of you don't know me. I'll give you a little background on what I do. I am a graduate engineer in electronics. I happened to be an engineer for General Electric. Some of you might remember the turbine industry plant that was in Latson, South Carolina. Don't get me started on the VC summer. Nuclear power is the most dangerous power in the world. Yes, we can get all the generating power we need. 10,000 years later, we can grow a weed. So I'm going to leave that right there. Imagine how a deer look coming out of Savannah Riverside with a foot coming out of their ear. But anyhow, let me go back. I'm a graduate engineer. I ran a Teledyne plant, Walterboro, South Carolina. I was living on Front Beach Isle Park. Long drive, but I enjoyed it. I was on the board of directors for Narco Scientific, which is a medical device company. I also patented, a lot of you don't know, 5 medical device products, 2 analgesic machines, and 3 of the only autoclavable mouth props anywhere, which are used in the dental industry. I thought I had $1.50. I was single, bought a nice big 58-foot Bertram, and I was in London one day, and I told my guy that owns Big Daddy's, if you ever been in Florida, he owns all the travel lodges and that. And I said, Cliff, he says, you look like you saw a ghost. I said, I gotta go back to the United States. I gotta go to work. I didn't listen to my accountant at that time. So after that, I had taken the general contractor's exam when I was 21 years old. Being fresh out of college, I could pass anything because I could memorize it and laugh. But I never really did much with it. I hired people to work for me. I was the man. Does anybody here raise your hand if you knew Jerry Zucker, the industrialist billionaire? I brought Jerry Zucker to Charleston, South Carolina to go to work for Ray Bestis Manhattan. I was offered a nice position with him, research and design engineer. I refused. I thought I had other good things to do. Then I got out in the street and started general contracting. I was a bachelor. My wife's sitting back there right now, and I told her, I said, if you're looking for a husband, you got the wrong man. And she said, oh, wait. I told my mother that. I said, Mom, she's either crazy. And she said, maybe you found the right one. I said, Mom, she's crazy. Well, anyhow, long story short, we got married years later, still a general contractor. And she found my hip here on Johns Island. Love it. My dad said, you'll never be a farmer. You're going to go to college. My dad died. The last payment he made on my college 1 month later. But I did what he wanted. And so, you know how things go. Children and whatever. I remember looking at my granddad from Daly Island, and he stood there with his big broad shoulders and a big blue rim hat. And he said, I said, Granddaddy, when I get big, I'm never gonna plant a tomato plant. He said, yes, son, I understand. They're all up there laughing at me today because I plant, and most of the people over here now know me as the okra man. I plant so many acres of okra. But I got into this race because my wife and I were talking, and every time I turned around, I was aggravated of what was going on, and people weren't telling the truth. You could go to Maria's, the Tattooed Moose, you could go talk to Thomas. People just wouldn't say the truth. I'm sick of it. I want to say what's on my mind, say it quickly. You might not like it, but you're going to always respect me for doing those things. We've had an incumbent of 16 years. The only thing he has done in this area is sit in the chair in Columbia and has sayings on it. And I won't say what I normally do say because it would be very nice. But I'm going to get a new chair if I buy it myself. We're going to take this seat. If you'll remember a few months back, remember the sewage leak that you had in Hollywood? It put some of my friends out of business, purveyors, oystermen. They couldn't work, losing their houses, losing their apartments. That same gentleman was sitting on the board that voted to use an out-of-state contractor who did a patch job on the sewage system. Now I heard, only time I've ever seen him in the newspaper, we call him Mr. Invisible, is that he was going to do everything the state could do. Well, you're going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. The town of Hollywood's going to pay for it. We don't need those type of things. I'm a shaker and a mover. I have plans. I want to do things. One of the big deals with me is this infrastructure. It's terrible. I see these little babies. I go to Bible study at St. John's, even though I'm a member downtown at St. Philip's every Wednesday morning. Little babies are standing beside the road. You can't really even see them until you're on top of them. So you're weaving in and out on Bohicket Road to keep from hitting anybody. I'm sick of that too. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? I want to see us grow over here on this island. I don't want it to just be if you're from here, from Kewah, Seabrook, I'm very sorry what I'm going to say, but I'm not. I don't want to see a build-up of $1 million homes up and down the road every 100 feet. This is a rural area. I moved over here because it's rural. I can plant a garden. I got friends of mine that live out on What in the law right now? Gated communities. Guess what? If I can see your garden from the road, you're going to get fined from the homeowners association. That's the truth. Don't want to see that happen. My third thing, we want to talk about vocational schools. I talked to the principals about 4 years ago at Hawk Gap, and I said, why don't you guys do something with home economics? I don't know, I haven't been there, but I understand they have implemented that program. There's guys and ladies that can't boil the water today without burning it, or sew on the button. I used to fly in the corporate world, so I kept a sewing package in the back in my wallet, because every time I bent over, I would bust the seat out of my pants. So most of the flight, I was sewing my pants up again. I want to see vocational schools. We had one called Murray Vocational School downtown. Not every single person is college bound. We need people. At our 75th anniversary of Massey College, Jacksonville, Florida, we had a state senator stand up and say, you guys in your three-piece suits out there in the corporate world, you think you're going to be the big-time movers and make the money? No, you're not. It's going to be that guy out there servicing Levi Strauss sewing machines, heating and air conditioning. Look what's happening. Call a heating and air guy out there. I'll see what it costs. The other thing, right? The other thing I'm big time with, and I'm glad my wife's here to hear this. She's got PL6 on her license tag. That's pro-life 6. I do not want to see Planned Parenthood with one damn nickel, excuse my language, God in church. Not one. The threat has been to the state and the politicians. Well, you know, if we don't do that, the federal government is going to turn around and defund us with Medicare and Medicaid. We got our president this time, ladies and gentlemen. That will never, ever happen. I tell you, the BC summer, none of us need to pay for failure. 35 years ago, I bankrupted. I know what it is to lose every single thing I own. But I also made me a better person. Because I work now, I can show you the calluses on my hand. As a farmer or rancher, at least my men do the general contracting work. But I know what it's like. I know exactly what it's like. So why should I pay Scanner and Santee Cooper for their failure? Politicians say we can't do anything. That's a lie. They voted for the rate hikes. We should be able to do something. It was their failure to inspect these jobs that should have been done back then. And my last thing is, and you all gonna smile on this, I know Thomas, you're gonna just be tickled pink. 526 was 15th on the list. 526 is 40th. I just got off the phone on the list. Will it come? Eventually, yes. Someone finally took my idea, and I had to say it the other night. He didn't come up with this idea. I did 6 years ago. We four-lane everything from Betsy Garrison all the way over to Dees Ferry. Not just a flyover. I want a cloverleaf. We got Old Charleston Highway right there. Will in fact, one service station as you cross the number 17. I'm a contractor. We survey from Hankel Marine to 162 and 17, north and south. I can add 2 lanes, a turn lane, and not affect one business. And all of a sudden, from this DOT, somebody came up with this idea. Secondly and last, DOT needs to be a cabinet position. I am tired of no one being accountable. If Fran, you messed up on something, I'm coming straight to you. They don't know who to go to. No one knows, and we, the people who are paying this bill, your 8%, 18% hike, who do you know to go to? No one. I need your vote. I've got a primary, June the 12th. I'm Republican, and I want to take this seat this time. Thank you.
Carol O'Neill.
Oh, okay, yellow sign.
The yellow sign. One quick thing before we get to the county council candidates. Rich, you want to tell about the maps you got? You want to stand up?
Yeah, if anyone here tonight has been affected by runoff and flooding on the island, I brought the maps that Phil Dustin has prepared. You want me to get the microphone? Sorry. If anyone here has been affected by the runoff and flooding from the developments that have been going on, I brought Phil Dustin's maps and charts. He's off for a couple of months, so I'm acting in his stead. We can mark on here, we can try to figure out what's going on in the island with all this stuff, and if we need to contemplate legal action going forward, we'll have some good solid experience and evidence from people who live here. So I'll have these after the meeting if anybody wants to come
Do they
on.
have the latest floodplain level sign now?
They don't delineate floodplains, but what they show is the elevations on the island.
Is that the new one, though?
Yeah, have you seen these? Okay, well, after the meeting, we can spread them out on a table in the other room and come up and let's look them over. So I just wanted to say that before we got rolling with the other candidates. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go to County Council District 9, which has a very small bit on Johns Island. Basically, headquarters Island Plantation, and if you're going down Maybank Highway or going down River Road, the area around Pembroke Hall, headquarters, and probably about down to Murraywood, Rushland Road is on that section of Johns Island is in District 9. Most of James Island, and then Keywa and Seabrook. Joe Quayle is councilman that sits in that seat. He's been there for 8 years now. Joe couldn't be with us tonight. His son is graduating from college tomorrow, and he's flying out first thing in the morning. So he sent his nephew here to speak for him. And then Jenny Honeycutt is here, is Joe's opponent. We're going to let them stand up and speak. Jenny, I'll do ladies first and let you call it. Let's see who speaks first. Heads or tails? Tails. No, it's got two heads. And we're going to do the same with Joe and Jackie. I'll let Mr. Devon speak for Joe.
I'm David Devon. Like Thomas said, Joe is my uncle. I'm an attorney on James Island, and I have a brief statement from Joe, and he is running for re-election. Joe can't be here because he's traveling to his son's graduation. He is a fierce, independent fiscal watchdog who does not swap votes. Joe has a strong record of things he has accomplished over the nearly 15 years that he has held public office. He has seen the Camp and Folly and the Harborview Road projects completed and is working to preserve the Riverland Terrace oak trees. He was the only council member to vote against the Navy Hospital debacle that has cost the county $33 million to date and may cost as much as $100 million. Joe is opposed to offshore drilling and has done all he could do to help the residents of Johns Island with their terrible traffic problems. Joe gets things done. He's asked if I read a testimonial from Tom O'Rourke, fellow Charleston County voter. As the former executive director of the Charleston County Park and Recreation Commission, I value my relationship with Councilmember Joe Quayle. As most know, Joe will not ever vote to spend money unless he thinks it is needed. He allowed me to educate him on issues that required spending, and because of that, we have one of the best county park systems in the country. I don't think anyone knows the contribution that Joe Quayle made in CCPRC bringing back Folly Beach Park when it eroded away after a terrible hurricane. We could have lost that park forever. Joe worked behind the scenes with all governments and conservation groups to help us make this nourishment project a reality. Simply put, Joe does what he says he will do. Isn't that the most important quality in someone you are electing? Tom O'Rourke, former director of Charleston County Parks and Recreation Commission.
Thank you, and we wish him safe travels. Jenny Hancock is running against Joe in the Republican primary, and we'll go straight to Jenny now.
Thank you all for letting me be here and for speaking to you. I won't take too much of your time, but I am running for the District 9 seat to bring safe roads, smart growth, and sound leadership to Charleston. The problem is that the incumbent has voted against 526 at every turn, and I support 526. I actually have a unique advantage because I lived on the island for over a decade, John's Island that is, and I experienced what John Islanders experience every day. I actually lived on James Island before the James Island Connector was built, so I have seen how infrastructure can change and also how development can be done responsibly. That leads to my second prong of my platform, which is smart development. I just believe that people are coming to Charleston. Unfortunately or fortunately, we are going to have to make room. Even if we stopped permitting tomorrow, John's Island has 5,000 open permits. People are coming to this island, and that means more cars, more traffic, and we have to do something. That's a responsibility of County Council. And last is sound leadership. I appreciate that Joe voted against the naval base. I would have too. The problem is his singular no vote did nothing for the county residents, and we still have this problem. An effective leader could have brought people to their position, and more no votes would have meant we weren't in that crisis. And so now we have to solve it. I would love your vote. Again, I'm for District 9, so any residents you know on James Island, please vote in the June 12th Republican primary. Thank you.
Okay, so and since Joe's not here, I told James beforehand, since Joe's not here, we're not going to ask questions, and I think both of them have stated the issue on the Naval Hospital, which is going to be a huge issue here in Charleston County. We'll go to County Council District 8. Jackie and Joe, if y'all want to come forward, we're going to put y'all behind the microphone, let you introduce yourselves, and then we're going to take questions from the crowd, because this is the big race here on John's Island. And Jackie, I'm going to let you call heads or tails.
Heads.
And it's heads. What we'll do, Jackie introduce herself, then Joe will do it. Then when we go to questions, we'll let Joe answer the questions first, and then Jackie take questions. So Jackie, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I am running for Charleston County Council District 8. I am new to politics. I spent 30 years in the chemical industry. I have the business background that we need to add the diversity to county council that we need. It is something that I see that is terribly, terribly missing. I have 3 priorities: taxes, growth, quality of life. We need low taxes, we need smart growth, and we need sustainable quality of life. On the taxes front, my parents told me money does not grow on trees. For some reason, it seems our county council thinks it does. Every time you turn around, they're going after our pocketbooks. We can't let this continue to happen. I will not stand by and let that continue to happen. I have the business background, I have the leadership skills to help me to convince the rest of council to do it a different way. As far as smart growth, again, we have issues here. Smart growth goes along with quality of life. You can't have one without the other. I am not anti-growth. I like growth. If you're not growing, I've always been told if you're not growing, you're dying. I'd rather be growing. So we need it, but we still need to be able to move around, not have our properties flood. and still have our traditions and our resources that we've always wanted and needed. So beyond smart growth, quality of life, we have major issues here on the island, one of which is the Naval Hospital. Horrible, horrible. $33 million that we paid for a building that cost the developer $5 million. Doesn't make sense. And then they take it one step further. Now they're playing with money. $66 million more to improve this. You know why 66? Because it adds up to 99. So they can always say it's less than $100 million. Not under my watch. The next one, I-526. I don't know, but it seems like I am the only one on the Republican ticket that is not for 526 completion. It is too expensive, and it will take too long for us to build it. We cannot let that money take away all of our other opportunities to see immediate relief. If we do, we will suffer longer. What I am hearing, 12 to 15 years before 526 will be completed, before the first car will be able to come onto the island with that highway. Do we want to live with the 2 lanes on Main Road, no flyover, flooding on Main Road, no pitchfork on Maybank? We can't do it. It is too expensive and it will take too long. It's already been approved by council, but that doesn't mean that I will vote. I will not vote for the funding. We won't do it. We cannot do it. We cannot afford that highway. The other challenge is in 526, it will cost us basically $90 million per mile. $90 million, 1 mile. That $90 million can do your flyover, it can raise Main, and it can also put in your pitchforks. Think about it. 1 mile can cover all of that. Think about it. It is expensive. And we also, the other issue is that we have outdated ordinances, which is causing the flooding. If we had the right tools in our toolbox, we can, LiDAR, Rich will show you the maps later. If you put the right, ordinances in place to prevent builders from, building dams, basically, like the Oakville subdivision that was just approved. It's basically going to be a dam because it's in one of our basins or water flows. That when you put those houses there, that water is going to spread onto all the neighbors and flood them out. That is not fair. That is not quality of life. But in general, that's the kind of person that I am. And that's what I will look to do, is to try to prevent bureaucracy from coming in and taking over and ruining our island worse than they already have. Just a little bit about me. I am married 25 years, my husband here. We have 3 children, 5 wonderful grandchildren. I care about our future. I am retired, I am an engineer, and I have 30 years in the business area, in the business arena, increasing responsibilities, and I have been affected. You don't last in a company that is number 1, number 2, usually a chemical company in the world, very long, if you did not have that experience and could prove that you could do the work. I have managed personally $250 million spent annually with contracts and purchases. The annual budget for Charleston County is about $550 million. I could do it. And last but not least, I am running District 8, Charleston County Council, Republican primary. Please vote for me.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Boykin. I'm a candidate also running for Charleston County Council District 8. My wife Lisa and I, she's sitting right over here. We live on Chisholm Road, on the upper end, about 4 miles down if you're coming off of Limehouse Bridge. Lisa and her family have been on that property for centuries. I mean, as far as it being in their family, and they are one of the rare commodities here that have not developed the property. And in fact, we're in the process now of trying to get that farm put under a conservation easement, contrary to what you see most other people do. I wanted to start with that to make y'all understand we're preservationists and conservationists first. Jackie and I, the one issue that we can disagree on is Highway 26. I don't want the road, I don't want to have to build a road, but I didn't create the problem that's made this road absolutely necessary. This isn't a matter of somebody complaining about another 20 minutes of drive time to get to and from work. This is about public safety and lives. I wish I could have brought my partner, Mr. Frank Broccolo, up here today. He's the supervisor of Medic 7. That's the one that sits right across from St. John's Hospital. I've had multiple conversations with Frank about response times and patient transport. You better hope you don't have a heart attack or stroke or other serious injury or illness at rush hour, because you're probably not going to make it. It's not a few minutes, it's tens of minutes difference of giving folks the medical treatment they need. Again, I don't want the road, but when the city of Charleston came across the river and they started building and they didn't put any infrastructure in it. I think we're waiting 10 or 12 years for this little wide end of main road, main highway to even get done, and it's still not finished. That's wrong in so many ways. I have some information here because I'm a retired federal agent. 27 years of serving my county, my state, and my country honorably. All those years testifying in courts of law for all types of cases, including public corruption, which might be apropos these days. And we did things based on facts, not supposition, not opinion, not fantasy. I thought it might interest y'all about 526. They just completed a traffic study in April of this year. The trips going across the two bridges, the Limehouse and the Stone Oak. Back in 2016, the SCDOT study showed there were about 49,700 trips across those two bridges combined. In 2 years, they just did another study. 2 years. We are now nearly 59,000 trips across those two bridges. And that is roughly 9,500 more than 2 years ago. It's a 16% increase in 2 years. You can rearrange the chairs on the deck of the Titanic all you want to. You can build all the little roads on Johns Island you want to. But you've got 2 points of ingress and egress, only 2. I'm a simple man, I got a South Carolina education. I don't have a PhD, I didn't go to MIT or Harvard. If you got 2 buckets of water hanging in the air and you fill them up with water and you shoot them, you put 2 holes in one and 3 holes in the other, which one's going to drain out quicker? I mean, it's just common sense. I hear the arguments about, oh, it's going to cost so much money. I've spoken to people that said that $750 million figure may be over the top. It may be able to be built for much less, significantly less. I also have, as part of being a former investigator, I started looking up information with the Charleston County Transportation Department. I have information from a traffic study commissioned by the County of Charleston that was done about 2 or 3 years ago, which is pretty current, probably one of the more current ones we have. Based on traffic projections with the Mark Clark completed in 2035, which is about 17 years from now, they use this word about mobility. Mobility is a good thing, so we're talking about increasing mobility. This is interesting stuff. The increase of mobility on Maybank Highway between Folly Road and River Road is 50% of the Mark Clark completed. 50%. On Main Road from Savannah Highway to River Road, 50% again. These are our 2 bridges that are going to be half better in mobility with the Mark Clark completed. And lastly, Savannah Highway, West Ashland. It, from 526 down the main road on that stretch of 17, increased by 25%. I just showed you we're going nowhere The Mark Clark has a solution, and it will absolutely increase our mobility. And that's a traffic report commission by Charleston County. Data collected by SCDOT. As for the cost, well, it's always more now than it was yesterday. And we can beat this into the ground. Oh, well, it was only 400 million, now it's 700 million. Well, guess what? If you wait another 10 years, what do you think it's going to be then? It's going to look like a bargain built now. And we needed it yesterday. So I am the only candidate up here today that wants that road finished, but I will make a caveat that's very important. More than getting 526 finished, my priority are the road improvements that we can do without having to argue with the state over the money. The extension, the widening of Main Road from Beast Ferry down to Betsy Carrison is underway now in the planning station. They go through the NEMA process of getting the permits. They've broken that project into 3 phases. Phase 1 is going to be from Beast Ferry to River and Chisholm, including the flyover itself. That's the first thing they're going to get done. I've been told that the environmental permits are less restrictive or less cumbersome, and they may be able to get them as soon as 2 years from now. That's significant. The next part of that project, which kind of struck me as odd, but now I get it, is the Bohicket Road process, all the way from Betsy Carrison up to Maybank Highway. I thought that'd be the most hard to do, the most permanent, intensive. But they say that it gives us the most traffically relief of getting that section done next, so that's why they put it as part 2 of that process. And then, of course, lastly, would be the section between River and Chisholm down to Maybank. That is underway with the half-cent sales tax money. The other part is the pitchfork, and there's a lot of opinions about that. In my consultation with the Department of Transportation, and they have the expertise, I don't, but I believe what they tell me, the northern pitchfork can give us some traffic relief. They see that as a positive. But the southern pitchfork, they've got a lot of concerns about. For all kinds of reasons. The difficulty of even routing that road with indigo bats and wetlands mitigation and everything else. But they don't really see that southern pitchfork gives them the benefit that the northern one does. I'm sharing this all with you. This is not something I made up. It's not my opinion. This is information from the folks you pay every day, the experts at Charleston County Transportation. Why I'm running, most of y'all know Ms. Anna Johnson. Have any of y'all ever spoken to Ms. Johnson? Can I have a show of hands? Has anybody ever met Anna Johnson? Okay. Of those that you raised your hand, has she ever helped you? Can I see anybody raise their hand that got Ms. Johnson to help her with anything? Help her. You got one here. Can you tell me a little bit about what she did for you?
She's helped me on several things with the planning commission, affordable housing. She's done quite a bit off council. Can't think of any votes on council that she's helped with. She's helped with.
I would contend to you that when we had a zoning issue out here on Johns Island, which I got to come before and speak to you when you're on the planning commission, we had 400 people that fought a party farm that came here. And most all of them emailed or telephoned or tried to contact Ms. Johnson. Right. And none of them got through.
Right.
How easy is that? You need somebody who's going to answer the cell phone, answer the email, come to your house, come to your church. That's why I'm running. We need representation, we need accountability, we need accessibility. That's the number one thing I bring. The latter part of it is we've seen all the stuff going on in Charleston County with the Naval Hospital debacle. In law enforcement and in courts, when there's a conflict of interest, you declare it, you make it public, you don't hide it, and then you either recuse yourself or you abstain. We need a whole lot more of that on Charleston County Council. If I'd have been there, I would have stood up and made an issue of the then chairman of county council leading the show for his employer, the mayor of North Charleston. That's why we're in this mess. Let's just cut through all of it. That's serious reason right here. How do you hire someone to do this project, get in bed, but better explanation. How do you go to business and be a lessee or in a tenant-lessor agreement when this guy has had multiple bankruptcies and failed businesses, and he's the primary interest or stakeholder in this business that did the Naval Hospital. Nobody looked under the hood to see what was going on. And so when they try to get out of this deal because they can't get the building ready, they're giving legal advice that let's just get out of the contract, let's break the lease. And what does that lead to? That builder or developer is going to file for bankruptcy because he can't make the payments on this project. And so Charleston County decides to go to court, bankruptcy court, and the judge says, you're going to lose. And not only that, you're going to have to pay all the money for that lease and damages and attorney's fees. So that's how we got in this mess of, let's just buy the building for $33 million. And now you got this decades-old decaying building that's not even fixed up. And we're going to sink another $66 million in it. And in the end, you still have an old building. This has got to stop. With $99 million, I agree with Jackie, we can do a whole lot with that, other than paying for something that's dilapidated and broken and will still be old by the time you fix it back up. I'm just looking back.
Okay. And I'm going to refrain from any comments on Anna Johnson myself. We're going to go to questions. If two of y'all are ready to answer them, the first question will go to Joe answer first, and Jackie. I'm going to do it. We'll start on this side and work our way back, and we'll start on the back side, work our way forward. If you have a second question, wait until everybody has a chance to ask. Would you like? We'll start with BG.
Joe, you were talking about the increase in mobility in building the bridge, and you also spoke about the projects that were underway now. What did the survey say about increased mobility for the projects underway now only?
I don't have that information before me. I probably asked for information on 526. Without even seeing it, I'd have to say there's going to be a massive increase in mobility for those road projects. I mean, it's commonsensical again. You got a bridge that will hold 4 lanes and we're only using half the capacity. And then you have the interchange at 17 and Main Road that because of the stoplights and the left turns coming from both directions, everything gets backed up. I'm sure you've been out there and seen it. If 17 can free flow right on through underneath Main Road, clearly that's going to be a wonderful thing. So I see great increases in mobility there. And I would even go further and say that the combination of the completion of 526 with those would be a force multiplier. There would be even greater mobility. So 526 is not an end-all be-all. I'm not saying it's a substitute. And let me finish with this. I will not let $1 that's allocated from the half-cent sales tax to those very important projects, the Fitchfork and the widening of Main Road and flyover, go to 526. Like I said before, we're going to get those projects done first. 526 has got to stand on its own. If we don't get the money from the state, we got to go up down a whole nother route. I'm not going to let them pull the half-cent sales tax money from those projects and shift it over to 526.
Well, as an example, this is the second question, Jones. When we do the the Pitchfork, and you have the 2 forks, one north and one south, and then when we build 526, and you have ingress and egress there also, in my eyes, that's, when we did studies back in the, 90s, Thomas, River and Maybank was a failing intersection then. All right, you're making the only ingress and egress to 526 very near that intersection now, and everybody wants to tell me it's going to be better. I don't buy that. That just is not a sense or sensibility.
I'm not a fan of the Southern Pitchfork for obvious reasons that I stated earlier. The Pitchforks may be redundant at 526. I would agree with you there. If I had my choice, and this is kind of like an order of operations, which gets here first, and again, we can all agree 526 is in question. We don't know that that's going to happen. Just because I want it doesn't mean it's so. And if I had my druthers, I would not put the Pitchforks in, and I would do the extensions of 526 and not have 2 things coming on. I'm not sure how this plays out, until I get a seat at the table and can have some interaction with where county council's going, because even if you win and get on there, you're 1 vote. There's 9 of them, and it takes 5 to get anything done. I've met with 5 of the council members, and I can work with all of them. But, you know, it's like the chicken and the egg, which one of these things is gonna get here first, but we need relief yesterday. Thanks.
Jackie, you want to follow up on that?
Sure. My opinion on the South Pitchfork is it would help if it's built correctly. I would propose that the South Pitchfork, if possible, we haven't talked to any landowners or anything else, is to come into where King Slash is, if that's possible, with a roundabout, because then you go on down King Slash and there's another roundabout, and then if possible, you will extend King Slash on through to Plow Ground Road. That will pull all of that traffic off of Maybank and get them heading on down to Seabrook, Kiowa, wherever they're headed. But that's, you know, one of the proposals that I would try to drive through in county council. I don't have to be friends with people on council now. Like I said, I've worked 30 years in the chemical industry. I didn't go into meetings knowing people before I got there, but I learned to work with them after we got there, and we were effective.
Well, Carol, I'll let you keep it brief.
I'll keep it brief. I got a question for both of you. You just mentioned, went on with 526 and the Pitchfork, going down King Slash Road, putting a roundabout coming out on Plow Ground Road. Have you been to Mount Pleasant lately? 526 into Highway 17. What happened at Rivertown, Dunes West, Park West, Roper Hospital, Sealy Plantation, Bulls Bay? Hey, we're full. We don't need any more right now. So what do you think?
Jackie, it's up. You go first.
Mr. O'Neill, I agree. The more roads you build, period. Look at Atlanta, look at LA, look at Charlotte. I actually lived outside of Charlotte before they put in a lot of the extra highways, the big loop that they have around. Look at Houston. I've many trips to Houston. The more roads they build, the more they have to build, because you didn't get the development around those roads, and so therefore you need more and more and more. We have to stop somewhere. That is one of the reasons why I would not put funding to 526. But because we have the number of people on the island that we do need to get off. So widening Main Road, I don't know if I would even widen Main Road all the way down to Maybank, but I would put some emphasis in the flyover, raising Main near the Gilligan so it doesn't flood out, and widening it at least to, because the bridge can handle it, to Chisholm and River there. That, and have 2 turning lanes to come onto the island. That in itself will move 4 times the traffic. And most people will say double, but it's really 4 times the traffic. That would give you relief. And then the Pitchfork, I just described that. So building more roads is not good, but we do need to improve our flow. Like Joe said, we need more mobility. And otherwise, you know, we can all be in a pickle.
Joe?
I'll add something else to that. Another reason why I'm not crazy about the pitchforks, I agree with Mr. O'Neill. That property, those pitchforks go through, the plans I've seen create access for that property for more development. I've seen parking spaces on those roads. Here's a big difference between connecting 526 and the Pitchfork. Those connections coming off 526 are closed access. That's to get people on and off that interstate. Not for more development, it's for more mobility. So the other thing I'll bring up, again, looking at the diagram, because I am an investigator, that's what I do. The way they're showing the pitchforks coming off of Maybank Highway, just off the Stone Oak Bridge, wait for it, a traffic light. All we're going to do is move the problems in Maybank and River right on down the road before we get to the bridge. One more light. I don't like that at all. I think it creates, you know, a break in the flow of traffic. So, again, my opinion is, I think it's a bad idea.
Hi, my name is Cole Gaither. Ms. Jackie, I have a question for you. We're talking about the traffic on Johns Island a lot, but part of the traffic problem is extended over onto James Island. Riverland Terrace, if I'm leaving my house on Johns Island and I'd like to go downtown, I've got a real traffic jam when I come off that bridge. Given the number of the boundary that the county has set for growth on Johns Island and all of the projects that aren't built, how do you, with the number of cars that are already here and the number of traffic backups that are here, growth is going to go on and on and on for the next 5-10 years, and if we don't start planning the roads now, like you mentioned you didn't want to do, how do you see the next 10, 20,000 cars being added to this island, being added to the Maybank Bridge and the Limehouse Bridge? How do you see those cars and that traffic being handled?
Again, my opinion, if you don't build the road, they probably will not come. There will be no room, and they will not come.
Well, I'm giving her a couple minutes.
Ties right into that. What is your position about maintaining the urban growth boundary that was a safe town hall?
It will not, I do not want it bigger than it is.
All right, Joe, you want to reply to his question?
I do. I don't think this is a mystery here. They didn't build the roads, look where we are now. I mean, they've already come and they're keeping on coming. So that logic doesn't prevail. They're going to build, we got 5,000 more homes, we still don't have any roads. The answer's right in front of you. You don't have to wait to see what's going to happen. Thank you.
Counter to that, yes, they will keep building, but have you ridden around this island lately and saw all the for sale signs? Everybody is leaving. They are leaving because they are tired of it, so therefore, the builders will get the idea because their property values are going to start going down. They're not going to sell those houses for what they used to. It will slow down, if not stop.
Okay. But back to my question, the urban growth boundary,
He's
that's.
speaking in the mic. So everybody can hear me.
Okay, the urban growth boundary is, presently, you mentioned you live on Chisholm Road, I live on Chisholm Road. We have fought that back. There's about a 100-acre parcel that's just after you come over the little creek past Brundle Gates. And we fought that back 3 or 4 times. That guy wanted to build over 100 units on there. I think he finally settled on, I don't know, 25, 30, something, how many? 34. Okay, which is something we can live with. But as there's going to be other pressure. That guy thought that he was going to get his 100 units in, is what he thought to begin with. But he ran, we fought that back. So I mean, that's important that going forward that we maintain that urban growth boundary and don't extend it any further. The city's created enough problems out here without the county doing it as well.
100% behind you on that. No bigger.
Joe, I absolutely commend you for your efforts. Much like you, I have gone before planning commission, BZA, and county council in general, standing up for what I think is right. I mean, I've spoken, actually got laws changed. I'm well aware that Angel Oak Plantations was called. It used to be by the Top Canal Land and Timber Companies, the guy that was developing it. I paid very close attention. In fact, my brother and sister-in-law sitting right over here live almost right across the street from that development. He tried to get the city to annex him and run the sewer under the Brindle Creek, and they wouldn't do it. And kudos for them for not doing it. Again, as I said,
Annex to Hollywood.
and if most of y'all don't know, there's actually a piece of property right on Chisholm Road that's in the town of Hollywood that a long time ago got over there.
It's mine.
One of the things you got to understand is most of the property on Johns Island is in the Ag Preservation District. Where we are down the road at Sod Farm, we're in HEA. Some places are HER. I didn't learn this until, again, investigating and learning this. I went to my comprehensive land use plan 101 training at the county. Most of y'all will be shocked by this. When you have an HEA property, you think that it's 1 house per 8 acres, or you take the total amount of the property divided by 8, and that's how many lots you can cut it up to. I found out that it can be double that. There's a provision, it's called bonus density. If you cluster the homes together on that property, you get twice as many if you set aside some green space. So think about that when you think about what the build-out potential of Johns Island is, looking at all that property that's still out there. I will absolutely enforce the urban growth boundary, let the intensive housing and all that stuff stay inside that. I think Thomas told me today about 18% of that's in the urban growth boundary of Johns Island, something like that. Let's fight for the other 82%.
All right, Rich, you got the mic.
I don't want to debate the 526 issue because we'd be here all night and we would lose, but I do want to mention that any relief has been held hostage here for 10, 15, 20 years because of 526. We would have had all these roads built by now if it hadn't been for this thing that's still hanging out there and is still going to be 10, 12, 15 years if it ever moves forward. So nothing else is going to happen for another 10, 12, 15 years because of this project. That's a fact. When you both talk about mobility, all I hear is roads. I don't hear about mobility. I hear about building more roads for more cars. You mentioned getting to the hospital if you're sick. $400 million would be the county's contribution to the 526 project. You can buy a lot of helicopters for $400 million and staff them around the clock. There's no talk about mass transit on Johns Island. You can't get from Johns Island downtown to the hospital if you want to work down there right now. You got to go to Sidwell Mall, and it takes 2 hours to get there. You could run a bus right straight across, and you can get people to and from the colleges, the hospitals, the restaurants, and such. That's a pretty easy fix, add a couple of buses. A lot of that traffic that you talked about is going to Keelan Seabrook and now Mullet Hall is going to be built out. I don't hear anything about staging the contractors that are coming and going every morning and evening that are clogging up the roads. During the day, it's no problem getting run off the island. It's at the rush hours when Keelan Seabrook are workers are coming and going. So I didn't hear any talk about dealing with that issue in an innovative way. All I hear is we're going to build 526, spend $750 or $1 billion in 10, 15 years. We're going to widen a few roads. But that doesn't get at the root issue. What are your innovative thoughts on how to deal with the real problems?
Well, for once, most of what you said I agree with, which is great. If you were listening earlier, the road projects of widening Main Road and the flyover, that's paramount. Those are changes we get too quick. If they can start building that road in 2 years, that's a whole lot longer than the normal 8 years we have to wait for permitting.
That's still 8 years.
It is. But you know what, Mr. Thomas, we should have started years ago.
And you know why we didn't?
I do, and I'm going to address that right now. When I said I agree with you, you are spot on right about 526 holding up these other projects. But I'm not on council yet. I would move forward with all of these road projects, and I won't tie them to 526. They should have been done yesterday, and you know well as I do, the reason I've done it is because Ms. Johnson's sitting on county council. And she's not the spark plug pushing and pursuing movement on these things. She sits up there and basically waits to see how everybody votes, and then she votes. She's not our representative. She's not doing all she can do for us. I want to get up there and work with all the departments, work with the city, and try to get something done. I won't promise you I can do anything because it takes 5 votes. One thing I am is I'm a team player and I'm a leader. And those are qualities we're going to have whoever goes on county council. I heard Ms. Todd said she didn't need to make any friends with people on county council. I beg to differ. One person didn't get anything done. If you don't have a rapport relationship with us, whether you like them or not, you're not going to get anything done. You'll have the same grid like a stalemate you have right now. That's why I want to represent us. I agree with you again. I agree with you again. I think the bus routes are something that needs to be addressed. Why have they been? Ms. Johnson's sitting right there. She can do it right. Crickets. You're right. We need a better mass transit system so folks can ride the bus and get to where they need to be. But again, Johns Island's left out again, because we're not being looked after. As far as your recommendations for Kiowa and Seabrook, I agree with some of that, but I don't know it's the county's business to start telling private enterprises how they need to run their business.
It is when we have to spend our money to support them.
Well, how would you like to have come tell them how to run your household?
Well,
How much government intrusion do you want into your life? And so I'm saying, there's a line here, I'm listening, we're agreeing on a lot. But I'm absolutely for private property rights, I'm also about personal rights. So, you know, I think we can work with Kiowa, get a dialogue, see if there's something we can agree on and compromise and then do some of that. But they're a business, they've got tourists, they've got residents, they have a schedule to keep, and it might not be conducive to our transportation habits.
Some of the prestige that exists on Kiowa is due to the fact of our organization here on Johns Island, those too.
All right, Jackie, you want to respond to his question?
I would like to see more bike routes. I would like to see maybe even instead of buses, because it may not be that many people, like an Uber kind of connectivity. If we only have 5 people that need to move, pay that rate to get them all downtown. You could get a little minivan, get them downtown and back. Those are for, especially for the people that don't have the transportation to get there. That will get us there. Bike routes, walking. We need to get out of the cars the best we can. There was one lady that posted something on Facebook the other day. She said it's only 6 miles from my house to work, and she would love to ride her bicycle. She said there's no way. What about a ferry? Why not? Why just replace 526 with a ferry? Why not? Think outside the box is what we need to do. We need to be more willing to do something maybe a little bit different that is not as expensive as what this wonderful bridge will be, that everybody is in support of. But I just can't see it. It is too expensive. And as far as me not making friends with people on council, you don't have to be friends to get their votes.
Question, right? Gary, you already asked a question. You want to go to her? Then we're going to start back at this side.
Has anyone ever suggested the improvements you've been talking about with Main Road, Maybank, and that, and then just completing the connection from James Island to Johns Island where it got cut off instead of doing the whole 526? Because that would certainly, as much traffic as there is between Johns Island and James Island, that would help a great deal. And another part of development might be to have some office space out here where some of those contractors doing all that work in Kiowa and Seabrook can afford to have their office so they don't have to be driving all over hell and half of Georgia just to get to work every day.
Very good question. And one gentleman just mentioned earlier, the 400, to get to a hospital and a $400 million. Yes, why not put a hospital on Johns Island if that is going to give us the quality of life that we're looking for, or enhance our current quality of life? Bringing industry to Johns Island within the urban growth boundary should be permissible. We don't need additional gas stations, which is something that was fought off on Bohickey. We have plenty of gas stations, but we can use office space, and the like. We have a lot of restaurants. We've also heard the comment that Maybank Highway is turning into the alcohol mile or something, because we have a lot of restaurants up and down Maybank. So we have to be careful. We need a good balance, and we need to try to keep as many people on the island as working on the island to get there. Another idea is Kiowa is all the way at the very end, and if we need another exit point, why not go from Kiowa to James Island? Put a bridge there.
All right, to your question, here's the problem. If you build a leg from James Island to Johns Island, you still have 526 terminating at 17.
That's not a problem.
But it is a problem, it's a problem we have right now.
It's not for us on John's Island.
It is. Because all those folks that are trying to come around, they're either gonna take a right and go down and get on the Limehouse Bridge, or they're gonna go left and go all the way through South Windermere, cross all the way through the municipal golf course and come on to John's Island. You can't go straight. There's only two options. Go around one or the other. That doesn't do us any good. It also blocks the flow of traffic to downtown. Some of those folks on 26, 526 will go, sorry, you're gonna get finished?
Because the bridge she's talking about goes to Highway 30.
Will you let me finish speaking? I'll let you speak. Thank you. The idea about the helicopter, that's fantasy. We're not flying all these people, across the thing, and the ferry is another fantasy. That's not going to work here. We're not a bicycle walking society. We are the soccer mom with the mini dance who's got to get kids to dance and athletic practice and a job. They don't want to ride mass transit. I love the idea, but it's maybe up north in these urban areas it works great, but it's not going to work here. It's never going to work. So I'm sorry for this. Quick, ask your question. I'm sorry.
The bridge that she's talking about would go to Highway 30. It wouldn't stop people from getting into town from John's Island.
What do we do for West Ashley? We're not going to help West Ashley?
So the other, what you were talking about with Main Road and the, either a flower or clover leaf or whatever, is probably gonna do a whole lot more for West Ashley than anything else is gonna do, because right now, that's just a huge bottleneck. That's a bigger bottleneck probably than, Maybank, the bridge.
All right, I'm gonna answer that, then we're gonna move on to the next question. 526 cannot be built in sections. A lot of them county council are wanting to build from West Ashley to Maybank Highway, mainly Vic Rawls, so he can bring it on down to his 800 acres. But it cannot be done in sections without starting the whole environmental impact start the process over again, which would bump it back another several years.
So we could
One
make
more
that a
comment,
different
Tom.
project altogether.
It's got to be the whole thing, or the whole, if they started to build it either way, like you're suggesting, or 526 from River Road, from 17 to Rollville right across the road here, then would have to start over, and it'll be a whole other environmental impact statement. Tim, listen.
Okay.
I know people on this side got questions, we're gonna get to you, but we're gonna try to get out here by 8:30, y'all.
What responsibility does the county council have, and you both run for that position, in preventing additional flooding and the type of development that is has already been approved and also is going to be considered for further development as far as there's a problem with flooding on Jones Island?
I don't know which one of y'all went first last time, y'all remember? All right, Joe, you go first.
Mr. Squire, that's a great question. One of the best questions we've had all night. The answer is obvious. The county has every responsibility to deal with that. You can go around John's Island right now and see the mounds of dirt going up and then slab housing going on top of it and permeable material, and then the flooding that's causing either by blocking that natural floodplain or running that water off onto someone else's property is lower. Yes, that's something to be fixed with the zoning laws. The zoning and land development regulations, also called ZELDers, they can change that and stop that. It should be an impermissible practice. When I was a kid growing up here in the low country and being all around here, people didn't build the dirt up for a house, they put them on poles. That's how business got done, and we don't have all this nonsense. But somehow somebody thought it was a great idea to do what we're doing now, and it's a hot mess. So, but there's two parts of this, and you're right on it. The county can only police the county. We need to go down to Charleston City, and we have to have a coalition of city and county council members meeting together to make some symmetry between these zoning laws, so we're all doing the same thing and we're all swimming in the same direction. But you're absolutely right. There's nobody else's problem but the county and the city with the zoning laws. Thank you. Okay.
Tim, what I would do, even first year, because I'm not afraid, I would go for Vic Rawls' seat, and I would work with Tecklenburg to try to fix these issues, because that's what needs to be done.
Okay. Anybody else on that road?
Just real quick, I just want to ask you, it looks like the SID is pretty much done with county council. It looks like the state doesn't want any part of funding this. And now with the 526 bridge maybe having to be replaced or repaired, I just wanted to touch real quick, how would you pay for 526?
All right, is your question if we don't get...
With and without.
With and without, okay, I'll answer two parts. All right. Right now, we're looking at potentially 420 million, maybe plus another 100 million, depending on how they go and what happens. It's a three-part contract between SID, DOT, and Charleston County. Last I checked, an absolute contract that has everybody sign on the dotted line, consideration offered and accepted by all the rights of ways that have been purchased. I don't see how the state gets out of this. You know what they're doing, Mr. Leatherman, I believe, he wants that money to build I-73 so we can get Ohio folks down to Myrtle Beach quicker. I'm just being funny. It's not funny though. It's just like it's like smoke them and wait them out. You know, drag your feet, delay. I spoke to Senator Sin. I spoke to a lot of other people that are knowledgeable about this contract. You know, you can have your opinion about it, whatever. She's his attorney. I think she knows more about law certainly than I do. I respect that. She says it's a binding contract. They're going to lose. If the county persists, and they tried to go straight to the Supreme Court to cut out all the middlemen. The Supreme Court said we're not taking the case. So now they're going to have to file in a court of common pleas, and this will go to the Court of Appeals, and then eventually the Supreme Court. We'll get in the same place, because it's never going to look better. The state is banking on us giving up. That's our money. That 420 million, we need to hang tough. You can spend it how you will, but we need that money. And I say don't let them off the hook. So with that money, we got the 420 or 500 mil, whatever it is, then I'm for, hear me clearly on this, taking some of the Council of Government money, I don't know how much it'll be, that's a floating figure, using some of the half-cent referendum money, but as I said before, don't take a penny from these other projects. I will not let that happen. It's got to be what's left over in excess, however you want to word it. Those projects will get done. And 526 will not hold up any longer, Mr. Thomas. That's wrong.
Thomas.
The other part we can do is general obligation bonds. We can raise some money there as well. I think all of that gets it done. I've talked to Brandon Mooney and several other folks, like them or dislike them. They're sitting on council now, they got more information than the rest of us. Jackie?
My response to that is, I heard the word lawsuit. You know who pays for this lawsuit? They're saying it could be, one number I heard Brandon really throw out is $1 billion that they would sue the state for. You know the lawyers, how much they would get? Probably about 10%. Do we have another $100 million to throw away? Really? You know who's going to pay for that? We will. And we'll pay twice.
Okay, thank you. Kim?
My question is, and it's dealing with drainage. As everybody knows, if you're on the Johns Island page, you know I have a problem with drainage. My main problem is with the county coming in and putting canals where they have no right to, and sending people letters saying they're gonna, what was the term I was just told? Condemn their home because they're causing too much trouble over a canal. So, where do y'all stand with this? You're talking about all this money. Does anybody notice all these county workers sitting over here when they're supposed to be working? They're at McDonald's, tractors, bush hogs, motor graders, trucks, sitting there running, burning people. I know everybody says don't worry about people. It's still our money we got to pay. Where do y'all stand on trying to start with this? Everything I'm hearing is y'all talking about bringing more onto the island. Why don't you promote the businesses here on the island? That's my thing. This is Johns Island, more of a country rural,
All right, we're going to start with Jackie. And can y'all answer these questions in a minute's time?
Sure, I'll try.
All right.
Rural, I support rural 100%. I'm a country girl and always will be, no matter what city I live in. And I support businesses coming on the island. But one of the areas you spoke of, these county people sitting around not doing work, that is something that I would address on council. Most people don't know what this is, but Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma. I am Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. And that is a process that you look at these different groups running out, spending time, that you will find efficiencies in those. And you will get those people either off the road into different jobs in the county, and that will keep them from just sitting there and twiddling their thumbs every afternoon, but I do support businesses on the island that are suitable for the island. Just like I would do out in Parker's Ferry, because, through the qualified opportunities out there, and they have an overlay, and they have restrictions. But yes, I do support businesses.
Hey, Jeff?
As to the issue with the canals and condemning homes and everything, I would say reach out to your county council person, but that's a futile effort, so we'll leave that one. I would suggest that you contact Mr. Jim Armstrong, who is the Deputy Administrator over Public Works. That's his shop.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Kevin follow up on that, because he's.
Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Neal, you heard me the other day when we was over yonder. I talked to every one of them. Mr. Armstrong won't return my call now, won't even take it. Won't even see me when I go to his office. So what does that tell you? They've already sent me several emails saying they have no rights to my canal. I want to fill it in, but I haven't filled it in because it will affect the drainage from Alder Reed Road all the way to Bohemian.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding your question. I thought that the county was involved with that canal, and that's what you were complaining about.
They put it there illegally. They have no rights to it.
Well, then, if that is the case, then you need to hire an attorney.
Already done that.
Well, then I would wait to see how that process plays out. And again, I've had limited information. I'm not against your position, but you're asking me a question of something I was speaking, I don't have any other knowledge about it. But I wish you the will on having.
When one of y'all gets elected to county council, I hope that y'all will help Kevin with that situation. I've done told him he just needs to get a bunch of dump trucks of dirt and fill it in and back the water up 2 miles down the road and something will get done. It's a bad problem, and hopefully one of y'all will be able to help him. So. All right, we're going to go start on this side with questions. And I think we all know how everybody feels about 526, so if you have a non-526 question, can we move to it? All right, one more 526 question.
Jackie, I addressed this to you because you're opposed to 526, and I know you probably haven't been here in a major hurricane where evacuation has to take place. But there needs to be, which ones were
The last two.
Manly?
The last two, they said leave.
Okay. I'm sorry then. However, we're growing. We're not Atlanta. We're not any of these cities. We're an island. We need, for safety, another bridge to get off of this island. We can't stop the 5,000 permits that are already in the system. We're going to get more. How do you propose it's a safety issue? We have 2 ambulances that I recently learned that are on the island. Only 2. They can't get through traffic. Our lives are at stake. This is not a money problem, like you're saying. How much is my life worth? I don't know everybody's life in this room. To me, this is a safety issue, and I wish you did that some thought.
I have given it thought. That's why if you can widen Main Road and you put in those pitchforks, that is going to give us more immediate relief. I do not see your life being worth waiting 12 years before you can get off this island.
It's a start.
You're going to wait 12 years before you get off?
No, I want the other things too, but
Okay. Well, then that's a good, valid point. Also, I will not be a career politician. What I am putting in place, I want to get it done in 8 years.
Joe, do you want to follow up or answer on that one?
I concur with your position about a safety issue. I've said that before. It's never too early to start saving lives, period. Every life in here is worth something. And whether it takes 8 years or 20 years, if we don't start now, we're not getting it done. So let's get the projects done we can do right now. Let's get them moving forward. The permitting on some of these things takes 8 years. So we should have done it 8 years ago. And so I agree with you, Frank.
Anybody want to throw that question? All right, we'll go with her. Does anybody else on this row have a question?
I'm going to preface my question with, I'm a newbie to South Carolina. Grew up in New England, small towns. So I'm still trying to figure out how the government down here works.
Not very well.
I read something that Green Space has been very successful within the county. Now, all of a sudden, because it's been so successful, the city and the county are now debating, instead of keeping money for rural areas like Johns Island, Edisto, Wadmalaw, they want to take some of these funds and put it back into the city of Charleston. Wait a minute. The city of Charleston's been in existence since, what, 1600? They got all the green space they're going to have. Why don't, something needs to be done to preserve the green space.
It's not just the city of Charleston, it's urban versus rural.
Right.
They're wanting to do 70% urban, 30% rural. So it could go to North Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Hollywood, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, let's preserve what we have here. I mean, that's where the focus should be.
We'll start with Joe.
I'll try to get real quick, I got a lot to say about it. I may be the only person in this room that actually went to the GAB, the Greenbelt Advisory Board, and stood up and spoke out against the reallocation of these funds.
I did.
Thank you. You saw me there?
Yeah.
Okay. I made a couple of pleas to them. It's actually, they're going to go to 50-50 is what they're trying to do, 50% urban, 50% rural. I've laid out a case and said, Charleston County government is the only source of government funding other than the Conservation Bank for all the rural area of Charleston County. All these cities levy accommodation taxes, hospitality taxes, food sale preparation taxes. They have their tax authority. They can raise their own money and build their own pocket parks. Quit taking the money from the rural folks. We're tired of it. The other thing is we save so much more acreage in green space through private land easements. And some of them are partnerships between private and public money. And look at all the property we've saved. That won't be another housing development.
I agree. Like I said, country girl, the more we can put out into our rural areas, we need to. And we need to stop this pushing it downtown. Just seems like a jealousy or something like that, we want more downtown. We don't need more downtown. They don't have space for anything already. Let's put it out to the rural areas. I support that.
How do you stop the reversal?
You go to the meetings like Mr. LeGree preaches every day. If we don't show up,
Go ahead, I'm gonna tell my whole
I have seen Tom LeGree at these meetings, and he makes a point on Facebook all the time about quit complaining and show up. It's on his soapbox. I show up, he's seen me speak, he's seen me fight, and we won. We got 400 people at a BZA meeting. He was there to see it.
21,000 people on this island, 4,000 on the Johns Island United page. I personally invited 441 people, and I counted 46 people here tonight, so don't get me started. And I'd like to thank, I'm going to let Fran and then Patrick, we're going to have 2 more questions, and I got a couple of followers. I'd like to thank them and everybody. Fran and I both know, because we ran for office against each other. It's not an easy job.
Well, it's been 8 years since me and Thomas ran.
And I beat him by 19 votes.
There was reasons for that, but anyway. I was on county council in 2002 to 2004, and I was subject to the single-member district change. But I really haven't been in any meetings, and in 8 years. This is my first meeting. I was asked by Joe, which is a friend of mine, and I said, well, let me go out and see what it's really all about again. But y'all are right, you got a hell of a road to go. I'm going to tell you that now, because you're still going to have a general election, whoever gets where. And again, if you can't count to 5, like old Barrett Lattimore told me, Fran, you can't count to 5, you ain't get nothing done here at county council. So anyway, this is what happened. Now, I was there during 526, the bad boy, as y'all want to call it. I am one of the administrators for Charleston I-526. I stayed there, I've been there now for about 14 years. So the post that you see coming out sometimes comes from me or somebody else. It's either going to happen or it ain't going to happen. Let's just wait till June the 21st. When the SID says, no, you ain't going to do it, then let it just dump into the ocean or whatever's going to happen to it. But I can tell you, sitting here now, if you can't count to 5, that half-cent sales tax don't bite. That's what I've already heard. Now, I don't want to go there and say, well, that's for sure. But Rich keeps saying, and Randall keeps saying, and Thomas keeps saying, it's going to be $1 million. What it might be. It might be $1 million. It might be $1 billion. I don't know what it's going to be if it even comes comes to pass. And so I'm done with that issue as far as 526. Y'all gonna have to figure that out. I'll stand out in the backside and do the post. The other thing is Carter. You want buses to come here. 2003, we did a survey because Carter wanted the money. We had to pay for the money. The government had to pay for Carter. That was the deal. Well, we asked about Johns Island. We asked about Mount Pleasant. Oh, they ain't coming to Johns Island. Not at all. There's no ridership here. So that's why they sent the link that's over here. So that issue is about, there's no ridership here. So we can't get the ridership to go in town. There's nothing we can do about it. But other than that, look, I've come a long ways in my time, and y'all just continue on. I just bless y'all for what you do, and you got a heck of a road to hoe. I really do. That council that's up there right now, if you don't change 4 of them, you're in trouble. Okay? Thank you.
And I'm taking that as a statement and not a question, so I don't think there's any follow-up. Thank you for your years on council, Brandon. All you've done. And your years in Hollywood. Patrick, do you have a question?
I actually have a quick statement as well, and obviously if they want to respond to it, that's great. Just a quick clarification for everyone. We are likely to win that lawsuit against the state to get funding for 526, but everybody keeps talking about all these ideas of how to spend that money. The one thing that Columbia has is the ability to tell us how to spend that money. That $420 million has to be added to $300 million that the county spends to finish 526. I see you saying 400. The number's anywhere from 2 to 4, we'll see. But the point is, you can't take that $400 million from Columbia and go spend it on helicopters or trams or buses or anything like that. You don't get the option to do that. So I just want everybody to know that. You know, that money's going to go to 526 or it's not coming here. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to give each of them a minute to closing statements. Jackie, you went first to start with. No, Joe went. Wait. All right, Joe, you go first. And then Jackie, and then I'm going to finish up with a couple of things. You got a minute.
First, thank you all for your patience. It's been a long evening, and thank you for being so good at paying attention. I'll be brief. Jackie and I have 2 different backgrounds. I've been a public servant for 27 years. I started my career as an employee of Charleston County government as a young police officer, finished as a senior special agent. I have a wealth of experience in leadership, dealing with crises, hurricanes, all of such. I think I possess the skills to lead and to work with the other members of council, because like Fran said, if you can't count to 5, you're not going to get anything done. I absolutely commend my opponent for her business background, but I'll continue to use it. Most folks on council now have a business background, and we are where we are. Not that she would do anything wrong, but I'm just saying I don't know that one more business person is going to fix anything. I would hope that if I could get elected, that my prior law enforcement experience and the fact that I still maintain relationships with the Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, IRS, and SLED, that would dissuade some of those folks on council from getting a little too cozy and getting a little too hanky-panky, but they got a retired federal agent sitting next to them that's not afraid to call SLED or the FBI and ask for an investigation. Thank you.
You better start getting pair of handcuffs in the first meeting when you get elected. Jackie, if you can finish up in a minute.
My business background has been in saving money for the people or earning money for the people I work for. That is not something our current council does. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight.